You always find relationships is what builds or determines growth and the success of a venture. I'm going to take you through a few steps of how you should handle relationships in this space. Assume everybody you are engaging with is a stakeholder. If you take every customer who comes to you as a repeat customer, as your friend, as someone you want to have a relationship with, you will find that that particular individual, even though it's a transactional relationship, are able to refer you, they're able to enjoy engaging with you, and your business can grow in that particular space. And I created a process where I used to walk into a building with flowers and chocolates, and I just go through the entire building and I give receptionists. And all of them will ask me, well, thank you. They will always appreciate it. It doesn't matter their age. When you give a lady flowers, she'll brighten up. And I would give them flowers, introduce myself, leave a business card, and I don't even tell them why. People are social beings. A lot of us struggle in how we manage relationships. And relationships impact how we start, how we scale, how we cruise, and how we end. Relationships can build you or can destroy you, especially in the business space. Over the last 30 years, where I've been in the business space as a CEO, as a founder, as a business leader, as an investor, you always find relationships is what builds or determines growth and the success of a venture. In this particular episode, we're going to cover relationships, but relationships in the business space. A lot of us start business as an idea that germinates from human pain. You see opportunities where you can ease human pain and make commercial sense out of it. For example, a convenience store. The person who started the first convenience store was looking at bringing goods closer to where people live. That's a pain point. If you're a business person, identify what human beings are going around, identify pain points, conveniences, challenges, fix them, and you will make money. It is not possible to do business alone. You have to manage stakeholders. Start from the licensing regime. You register your business. You probably are not a lawyer, so you need a lawyer who will take you through the process of registration. You probably need capital. You either start with your savings, or you'll go to an angel, or you'll have to go and borrow from a bank. That all requires a series of processes that you'll have to go on managing relationships. I want to start this relationship journey talking about family. But before you get out to go to work, you're either engaging with your spouse, your children, your employees to get you ready. And one failure in that process can destroy your entire journey. Let's give an example. So assume you have a housekeeper, as most Kenyans do, and they prepare your breakfast, or they iron your clothes. And for one reason, they wake up that day and they are sick, or they wake up and do not perform the task as your expectation. That particular innocuous act can destroy your entire day. Something as simple as having an argument with your spouse can ensure that the deal you're chasing does not work out. So how do you navigate this particular process? How do you deal with relationships in the workplace? My advice to entrepreneurs is you need to handle work relationships the same way you handle your relationships with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends, and understand that everybody around you is going through a battle. And once you appreciate that everyone is going through a battle, it will teach you on how you should engage. Sometimes you wake up and you're in a bad mood. And a lot of us who are leaders do not realize that our bad mood spreads like a cold. You get into the office, from how you engage with the guard at the gate, with how you engage with the receptionist, to how you engage with your colleagues if you have a personal assistant. will impact how they go home to their families. So relationships is a very, very big deal in the foundation of how you run a business. I like telling a story that I went through. A businesses that I set up by myself, built, and eventually brought in partners. And in that particular process, I had to get an independent chairman. I had gone through life running businesses where I had never had to ask anybody for permission for anything. And one time I had to ask for permission to attend my daughter's graduation. You can imagine the shock when the chairman declined to approve that leave. I fight authority many times in my life, and that was one of the times that I fought authority, and I said, I'm going away, I'm taking leave. And when I came back, there was a disciplinary hearing about me and about that action of defying authority. Could I have handled that situation better? Certainly. My approach to how I applied for that leave was a problem. I should have first of all established to my chairman my relationship, being a single father, my relationship with bringing up the kids alone, and why it's important for me to be in the process of my kids' education. If I had done that previously, probably I would not even had to have the formal application for my leave, because the chairman would have told me, no, this business can continue without you. So that is just a simple example of how I should have handled a stakeholder. Recently, I was telling a friend of mine a process where I worked in a nearby country, and I was declared persona non grata because I refused to give a job that to me sounded like it was a request, but in the real sense, they were demanding that I employ that particular person who was related to a senior person in the immigration office. But when I declined, and because the particular person was not qualified, they canceled my work permit, and I had to leave the country in 48 hours, leaving my family in that particular country. Could I have managed that situation better? Again, it's about relationships. I should have understood the culture in that particular country. I should have understood that that senior person in the government was not actually asking, they were instructing me to employ. In one of the businesses that I was employed in, I was employed as a general manager. At one time, the board recommended that I go and start a venture in Ethiopia. I flew to Ethiopia, looking at feasibility, thinking about whether it's a place that I can live in. But by the time I got on the plane at JKI heading to Ethiopia, I already knew I would not do this. Okay? I should have communicated to my boss at that particular time that, look, I've served in Uganda, I've served in Tanzania, I've served in Rwanda. I think it's the time I settled in Kenya, because I had started making investments in the country. I was married. I had gotten my firstborn. That it was the tour of duty needed to take a break. But instead of doing that, I still got on the plane and I went to Addis Ababa. And in my mind, I knew I would never do that. It is the first time the title prima donna, I've ever had the term prima donna being thrown at me. Again, because I didn't manage those stakeholders. Those are just examples. At any single time, even now as I speak, I'm probably managing a stakeholder issue in the business. A stakeholder could be the principal. A stakeholder could be my business partners. A stakeholder could be an employee who probably is struggling. It could be a funder. It could be even a client, a customer who is feeling they're not being treated right, and they escalate the matter to the chairman's office. And how I handle that particular problem determines whether the individual stays or goes. Currently, my home, I live with my daughter, my last born. Okay. And I find her energy drives my energy. She works from home. Sometimes I tend to ignore her issues. And when I'm in the middle of work, I just remembered, there's something my daughter wanted to discuss. And I didn't handle that. And it will bother me until the time I get home. I could be sitting with a client at that particular time, and it triggers me. There's something at home that I haven't sorted out. Okay. So I'm going to take you through a few steps of how you should handle relationships in this space. assume everybody you are engaging with is a stakeholder. And as a stakeholder, the most important person in your life, in your business, is your shareholder. In your shareholder, in this particular time, I'm talking about your customers. Your customer owns your business. And how you handle your customer is what determines success or failure. A lot of businesses are transactional. You've come in, you bought this pen, you've gone, and you've paid for it. If you take every customer who comes to you as a repeat customer, as your friend, as someone you want to have a relationship with, you will find that that particular individual, even though it's a transactional relationship, are able to refer you, they're able to enjoy engaging with you, and your business can grow in that particular space. There's a lot of data that's around you. For example, the security guard in your office would be able to tell you probably moods of everybody. Tell you, hey, today the chairman has walked in, and the way he's parked that car and the way he's spoken to me, he's in a bad mood. It can help you in understanding that. But what do? We ignore these people around us. You ignore the receptionist at the door. Years back, when I was doing insurance sales, and you understand how insurance sales are and how insurance salesmen are judged, we're seeing as people who bug you, interrupt your time. And that time, you're cold calling to make a deal. It's when I realized how powerful guards, receptionists, secretaries are. And I created a process where I used to walk into a building with flowers and chocolates, and I just go through the entire building and I give receptionists. And all of them will ask me, well, thank you. They will always appreciate it. It doesn't matter their age. When you give a lady flowers, she'll brighten up. And I would give them flowers, introduce myself, leave a business card, and I don't even tell them why. Imagine when I go there 2-3 days later, that lady will brighten up, and I tell them, look, when I came here yesterday, I'm trying to figure out who handles your health insurance, who internally here makes that particular decision. And that receptionist will give you all the data that you require, insights. Even sometimes we'll set up a meeting for you to come and sell. A simple act of an investment of a chocolate and flowers. That used to work a lot for me. And I've gone through life now engaging with everybody as my peer. A waiter, a security guard, people who are serving me, who ideally my engagement with them should be transactional. I try and find out, how did you sleep? How's your family? And listen. Listen with your body, listen with your mind, and listen with your ears. Because everybody, as I said, has a story. And that story is what determines how you build relationships. I had tea with a former employee of mine who we parted ways years ago. Left my business, went on to found her own business, and she's become very successful. And she mentioned something that she's very religious and spiritual, that every time she drives into her compound, the thing that she appreciated is a conversation I had with her, and I told her, look, where you are this time, it's important that you start investing in your own home. She's on her third house, and she tells the story to her employees why you need to buy your own house. Something like that of an impact. Someone out there who I worked with 17 years ago, and they're telling other people, Peter Nduati did this for me, and the reason I'm where we are. He uses my nickname, which I'm not going to discuss. He put this impact in me, and I'm putting it in other people and to her family. All of us, our stories are told by different people. And everybody owns your narrative. You are different things to different people. And stories you will never hear. Currently, there's someone discussing you. There's some people you're just a glance, an engagement. And there's some people you made such a serious impact that you're not even aware. That's what stakeholder management is about, is to realize that everybody around you is a potential customer, a potential partner, or a potential support. Because as you go through life, you need people who can support you. Lesson number 2 is a question you should ask yourself, who am I? Because once you do introspection and identify what you like, the things you don't like, the things you're uncomfortable about, it actually dictates how you engage with other people. Some business people will use a cliche and say, I employ people who are smarter than me. I call it cliche because it's a nice thing to say. My approach is different, not necessarily smarter. I employ people who enjoy doing things that I don't enjoy doing. I'm operationally strong. I don't just enjoy operations. So having done that introspection and I identified that I do not enjoy operations, I always like people who can do the same tasks diligently over and over. People who can sit in a room and do things by themselves. I get challenged by people. Even when I'm working on a project, I'll have to get up, walk around an office, or walk around and speak to somebody. But there are people who, especially people who enjoy things like IT, coding, who can sit 24 hours by themselves. Because I know that's not my strength. Even though I can do it, it's not what I do well. I try and work with people who can do those things that I don't enjoy doing. I'm a creative in terms I like thinking of ideas, coming with the ways of solving particular problems. But that execution process requires people. And requires people, and how you manage them is key. That lesson of who are you, and the fact of sitting with yourselves, understanding how am I growing, what direction am I going, what is it, what are the pain points that I'm going through, what is it I enjoy doing, what is it that for the desired outcome that I'm weak in. Try and get someone who enjoys that particular part. Are they necessarily smarter than me? Most of the times. But I don't. But that cliche of I employ people smarter than me is what it is a cliche. Lesson number 3. Be comfortable with rejection. And I'm not talking about love affairs. I'm not talking about spouses. Business has a lot of rejection. It could be a rejection of someone. I don't know in life you've ever met someone who some people would state, I don't like you. I went to school in India. And one of the first people that I met when I landed in Chandigarh, those many years ago, was a former schoolmate. And that former schoolmate of mine had a roommate. I used to spend a lot of time in the house. One day the roommate just told me, Peter, I don't like you. And I don't know why I don't like you. Later on, that person became my friend. And over the years, we tried and discovered what he didn't like. His brother, who had been in the same college before, when he was preparing him to go to India, took him through people he should avoid. I'm a gregarious, outgoing person. And that was the first thing told. Those people who will party with you, hang out with you, yet when they're in the lecture room, they get everything. They don't have to revise and ultimately pass. That's who I was. I'm not one person to read notes. I get the nuance on listening. So that person hated me because of advice. And later on, we became good friends. We became running mates. He's done many marathons. And we became buddies just because we took time to understand what drives you not to like somebody. Have you ever walked into a room and sensed the energy, and the energy is just wrong? Now, that's where stakeholder management comes in. You need to try and identify, why am I feeling this way about this particular person? When I go into business, when I go to sell a product, you can think it's a transaction. You enter there, say, my name is Peter Nduati. I'm selling this notebook. Side here. Give me the money. But business is not done that way. People buy from people they like. Standard. You want to do business with someone you like. Okay. So I can go to a meeting, in the first 20 minutes, I come into a topic that gets me into the same level with my audience. It could be politics. It could be I discover something that they like, that they enjoy. Maybe I'm trying to cut a deal with someone who likes motorbiking. Research it. Try and understand. Try and walk a mile in his shoes. Why does he ride motorbikes? Let that be the icebreaker. Okay. Because the minute you reach there, you find something in common. After that, you'll find a foundation and a meeting of minds. And it's very, very easy to convert that particular person. Sometimes it takes many meetings, hours, trying to learn the person before you actually pitch to them. That's another sign of stakeholder management. Lesson number 3. I don't say, it's 4. Okay. All right. Lesson number 4, authority. Who has authority over you? Who can destroy your business? So, you probably know that I run a consulting firm, Peter Nduati Consulting. Check it out. I've met clients who are so afraid of engaging with KRA, engaging with the taxman, because everyone thinks the taxman is there to take my money, is there to give me trouble. The taxman is a stakeholder in your business. You cannot survive in any space in the business world without considering these sales taxes, this VAT, these corporate taxes. The government requires your money. The government is a stakeholder on your profits. You cannot ignore KRA as a stakeholder. Yes, because they're meeting their targets, they'll come hard at you. City council, okay, county government, NEMA, competition authority, CMA, Nairobi Stock Exchange. All regulators are stakeholders in your business, and they can destroy you. Your lenders, your funders, money comes with a string, are stakeholders. They're your authority. They can destroy your business. All these people come into your business even before you get your first customer. If you do not manage those relationships right, you will fail. Did I mention that I fight authority? I do. But there's authority that I can never fight with. And that's your regulator. Okay? It could be as much as the public health official who comes and checks whether how you're treating your employees, whether your toilets are clean. Okay? It could be the fire people coming to find there's a fire extinguisher. You wouldn't go fighting with those people. They can destroy your business. Okay? Business people, when we're chatting, we call them necessary evils. Yes, you don't need comfort, but you need to build relationships. Do you struggle with that? If you do, it's something you have to live with. Academic excellence. We always speak to our children, and we try and position them where they can excel academically. Okay. And that's the first foundation our parents give us. Okay. A lot of us were either beaten because we didn't get the right grades. And sometimes your parents can tell the reason why you didn't get the right grades is this particular term. You played around. You did things that you shouldn't have been doing. Okay. That journey where an authority, someone senior to you, is trying to correct you, is part of what I'm talking about, relationships and stakeholder management in businesses. I always encourage people to get mentees. I always encourage people to get someone who is a subject matter expert in the business you're getting into, and I call it paying school fees, to try and give you knowledge, things that they've gone through. Do not sit in a room there as an entrepreneur struggling with something when the knowledge is out there. Get a consultant. Get a mentor. And your mentor doesn't have to be someone older than you. A mentor could be someone who is your peer or even younger than you, but they have faced this particular issue. And the best place is that issue of academic excellence. Schools always try and match a weaker student with a stronger student. Even in the field space, I mentioned, I played rugby. Coaches know how to match. I played in a position called second row. As a number 4 jumper, I always used to be matched with the number 5 jumper, who the person I'm coordinating with. And let me tell you how deep it goes in one of the clubs I played for. When we go on tour, your roommate, if you are number 10, your roommate is a number 9. Because you're playing a lot together. You start bonding, having the right energies to ensure that happens. These are some of the anecdotes that I can give you around the relationship in the business space. Those are some of the few lessons that I hope help you navigate the journey of stakeholder management and how you manage relationship in business and out of business.